Today we are going to be talking about Coco, so stay tuned.
Welcome to The Real Review.
Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. Everybody, I am here with Joel, Coco Crispy Cunningham.
I like it. That's good.
Yeah.
I might mix me with some cereal.
Yeah, I'm hungry now too. Thanks.
Are you a morning cereal guy? Or are you an evening? Or are you a cereal guy at all?
I'm cereal any time of the day.
Any time of the day.
It's good all times of the day.
As a child, I loved it in the morning, obviously, for breakfast. Nowadays, I'm more of a nighttime cereal guy. I'm not gonna lie.
Sometimes when I can't figure out what to make the kids for dinner, I'm like, guys, let's just have cereal tonight.
Pick your pleasure.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
fun.
Honey Nut Cheerios. Yeah, it's
That's
easy to
pretty nice.
make.
What's your? Sorry, we're getting way off track again already. What is your favorite? What's your favorite cereal?
It's too many to count, man.
And there's a lot of good ones.
There's a lot of really good ones.
I can limit it to probably 3, which are random because they're not mixed at all.
Okay.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Great.
Grape Nuts, which nobody likes. I know.
don't even know if I've had that before, but okay.
You never had Grape Nuts?
No.
Oh, wow.
Next.
It's an acquired flavor, definitely. And Cinnamon Life.
Cinnamon
So
Life.
it's kind of like super sugary, super over the top healthy, and then kind of like right in the middle with Cinnamon Life.
Captain Crunch is good too.
I can't do Captain Crunch. It hurts my mouth.
Oh, yeah?
I know that sounds stupid.
I got Jaws of Steel, so we're
Do
good.
you?
Yeah.
It like my mouth. Every time I eat it, I feel like I just shoved a bunch of rocks in my mouth.
But it's so good.
It does taste good.
Yeah.
They should create a version with smaller pieces or something.
Oh, yeah. Or
Yeah.
round ones.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So I am here with Matt. Why don't you keep your stupid comments in your pocket? Hey.
What? I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's from The Room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
going way out because The Disaster Artist is coming out this weekend, and I saw it already, but we're going to review it later. And
Yeah. Good times. Anyways, welcome to The Real Review. Thanks for tuning in. Just to give you a quick breakdown, we kind of break it down fan and critic style. I'm a little bit more emotional. Yeah, was it super fun? Did it make me cry? Did it make me feel something on the inside?
Mr. Captain Crunch.
Yep. Joel will be more analytical, potentially more negative, and be like, more nitpicky, really kind of break it down for the technical aspects where I kind of overlook some of those things. But that's how we do it. I think.
Right. It's good. It's like, Captain Crunch and Grape Nut. That's like kind
Sure.
of
Yeah, man.
it's our
Something
new
like
nicknames
that.
for each other.
And so that's what we do. Real quick, Joel, how do people get connected with us?
We've got a couple good ways. Thanks for asking, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
We have our website, which is realreviewmedia.com. It's a great place to get connected on there. And then additionally, we have our Facebook, which is facebook.com/realreviewmedia. Then additionally, we have our Instagram and our Twitter, which are both at Real Review Media as well. And then for sure, our lovely, lovely comments that we get from people. You can send us thoughts, comments, perspectives.
Gift baskets.
Gift baskets, if you will. If you can send those via the internet. I guess you can, but you can't really send them by email. But realreviewmedia@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Do it.
So
it's good stuff. That's how you can do it. But yeah, let's dive in today.
It's been real.
Yeah, sure. So
That was it. We're done.
What we're going to do is we're going to dive into Coco. Now, super crazy weekend. Didn't really get to go see Coco. I wanted to, but you did, Joel.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, I think, with this review, what we
Yes.
should do is make it super interactive by having me just talk the entire time.
Yes,
And
very interactive. I'll ask you questions about it because I actually want to see this.
That sounds really good.
Gem.
I will say I didn't have super high expectations for this.
Okay.
And
okay.
I know
tempered.
I know that sounds stupid maybe for some people because Pixar generally is a pretty good caliber studio. They've created some amazing classics. But as of recent, they've been a bit, hit or miss for me, especially with the Cars series.
Yeah.
The second one was just awful. The third one was like, meh, you know what I mean? The Good Dinosaurs, meh, it's just been kind of hit or miss. So I wasn't necessarily sure. I thought it'd be at least decent. And going into it, I really didn't have a sense of maybe what I was going to get from the film too. I felt like the trailers were a bit not obfuscating, but they were kind of it was unapparent what direction they were kind of going at.
I totally get that.
So let me actually give the synopsis and everything.
Go
it real quick.
synopsis.
Yeah. So despite his family's baffling generations-old ban on music, Miguel dreams of becoming an accomplished musician like his idol Ernesto de la Cruz. Desperate to prove his talent, Miguel finds himself in the stunning and colorful land of the dead, following a mysterious chain of events. Along the way, he meets a charming trickster Hector, and together they set off on an extraordinary journey to unlock the real story behind Miguel's family history.
Nice.
Directed by two folks, Lee Unkrich, I believe, and Adrian Molina.
Nailed it.
Yeah, so it's got the voice talents of Anthony Gonzalez as Miguel.
Okay.
It's got Gael Garcia Bernal as Hector, which is, one of the other main lead characters. He's kind of like this rapscallion, if you will. He's kind of like a almost con artist-y, but like really down his luck, really poor, kind of walks with like a limp sort of a thing going on.
Okay.
So you can picture that, and an adult. And then you got Benjamin Bratt, who plays Ernesto de la Cruz. So he is in this world that Miguel is in, this child Miguel. Ernesto de la Cruz is like this famous musician, and he's created these songs that for generations, families have loved, and he's very beloved and everything. And then I'll get more into the story in a bit. But then you have Mama Imelda, which is Ilana Ubak. Renee Victor plays Abuelita, which is the little grandma.
Yep.
She's an important role, but a small one. Papa is Jaime Camille. I'm okay with Spanish. So
Okay.
that's what I'm trying here.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, Gabriel Iglesias, who everyone knows, Fluffy, Clerk is his official name. And then you got Mama Coco, Ana Ofelia Miguia, I believe is how you pronounce that. And then you have Edward James Olmos, who is Chicaron.
Oh, yeah.
So again, coming into this, I didn't really have a huge perspective as to what to necessarily expect.
Okay.
Because, some misgivings from some Pixar films that have come out recently, also just not getting a lot from the trailers. And really ended up, for the most part, really being blown away by this film.
Really?
I think Pixar absolutely knocked it out of the park with this one.
That's awesome.
Getting really good reviews, not just from critics, but additionally from viewers.
Okay.
I don't want to get too much into spoilers.
Okay, yeah, no, that's okay.
I don't think we need to.
We don't need to, yeah.
Right, but one of the things that is often the case with Pixar films and the thing that I love so much about them, it's like the beginning of Up.
Yeah.
They're willing to go into a territory, even with a kid's film, where few dare to tread, where it deals with complex emotions, loss, pain, suffering. And this film, at the get-go, it starts out with this concept, and I will kind of talk a little bit about this. This sets up the film. You learn this in the very beginning. Miguel's great-great-grandfather became this musician, and sort of the idea is that he betrayed the family. He left the family, left his wife and his young daughter.
All right.
To kind of go and become this sort of traveling musician guy. And because of that, they end up hating and banning music in the household. And so for generation after generation, nobody can play any music or be a part of anything musical. And Miguel, though, is kind of drawn to music. He loves it. He wants to play. He's got this kind of natural gifting and talent, and he loves Ernesto de la Cruz, who's this famous musician that he really looks up to. And there's a lot of mystery that kind of goes with that, because the father has been cut out of the family. He's been literally, and if you're familiar with sort of like the Dia de los Muertos, which is kind of the setup for this entire thing.
That's a lot of the humor that they, like the slapstick humor that they throw in the trailer.
Yeah, with the skeletons and everything. And that plays a lot better.
Does that get old? It seemed like it would get old.
I was fearful of that, but it didn't.
Okay.
It felt fitting. It didn't feel like, they actually used, the funny thing is they used the skeletons, like the people that are in sort of the other side, the dead world, the Dia de los Muertos world. They use the fact that they're skeleton to their advantage. So instead of just walking down a thing of stairs, they'll just fall off of it and disassemble but then reassemble. You know what I mean? So they're like, I don't even need to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they kind of know that they're skeletons, and they're totally comfortable with it, and they're fine with it. And they make a joke out of it a couple times, like the one in the trailer with it's Gabriel Iglesias is like the clerk and his jaw falls off, and that kind of felt like it might go too far with that much humor, but it didn't.
Okay, cool. No, I like that.
Right. So Miguel has this, fanboy crush, if you will, on Ernesto de la Cruz. And I'm not going to go too far into the story. I'm just going to talk about the first little bit here, because it kind of sets up everything. And ends up through, his desire to be this passionate musician and everything like that. So yes, his family are cobblers. So they take up this trade of being cobblers, and it's kind of like every child.
Like apple cobbler, peach cobbler.
Yes, exactly. Not like shoemaker.
Kidding.
Hey,
okay.
I'm glad you're here for that added commentary.
I didn't.
It's good. Yeah. All right.
That's what I have to bring to the show, you
Turn
guys.
Turn it off. So he doesn't really want to be a shoemaker. He wants to be a musician, and he ends up wanting to sign up for this big Dia de los Muertos festival and play these songs. And his family finds out, and they get all upset, and then that kind of projects him down this path where he ends up in the other side, the other world.
Okay.
I'm not going to go too much into details because I don't want to ruin those aspects of the story for you, because that's part of the fun of it. Is there are some mysterious type elements in some of it. I mean, you don't really know who his father is. You don't really know some of the musical aspects of the the family lineage and stuff, and that plays out over the course of the film in a very interesting way. And when I said the thing that I did about them willing to tread into really dark territory, I'm sure you're familiar with that, how Pixar can kind of be that way. I mean, the very beginning of the film is dealing with this idea that there was a betrayal, breaking of the family when the husband left the wife, and she kind of had to have strength and push her family forward. And that's a pretty deep thing for a kid's movie, to have the parents kind of one of them just skip out on the kid for a kid's movie.
That's real life for a lot of kids though,
It
and
is.
I think that's why it resonates with so many people too.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And they go into other things. There's some pretty gut-wrenching type moments. I actually found myself at times slightly tearing up.
Oh my gosh, you were in my territory.
I am, yeah.
If that's you, dude, I'd probably be a wreck during this movie.
You might be. There's reasons I'll tell you after we're done with talking about the film, because I don't want to spoil it for people. But there's reasons that happen, later in the movie, where it's built so well.
Okay,
and that's the nice thing about Pixar films. It's not melodramatic. But they do such a good job of just telling honest, real stories about characters that they've created, and the emotions that they experience, and the choices that they make are very real. And yes, in a cartoonish environment, a kind of a fun, kid-friendly-ish type environment. But the environments are so real, the people and the dialogue is so real that you end up not realizing how strongly you're connecting with the characters till they get to a point where something really dark happens, and then you're like, oh, that really hurts. That's really touching, or that's really, and that was what the case was with this movie. The visuals as well, they've consistently, moved the bar forward with visual style. This film is not a joke either in that regard.
Cool.
There's some shots in there you're just like, that is beautiful. Prior to the film starting, prior to the film even starting, they did a Frozen type short. They usually have a short film.
It's like Olaf's Christmas or something like that.
Yeah, and it went on for a really long time. I'm not going to lie. For a little bit, I was almost starting to be like, did I go on the wrong what is going on here? Because it went on for 20 minutes almost, 15 or 20 minutes. And it was cute. It was fine. I'm not a huge Frozen guy, but it was all right. It was fine. So they did that, but then before the movie started, they went into this kind of brief little here's the team at Pixar thanking you for watching this movie, and and they showed some of the technology and the ways that they put some of the shots together.
Oh, really?
And yeah, just one shot in particular, which is where Miguel first goes into this other world,
the dead world. Yeah.
Yeah, they showed the nuanced layers of. They had hundreds of thousands of computer generated lights, and they layered it with 15 or 20 different layers, and put all those together, and it's the way they showed all the image coming together. It was just insane. Yeah. I'm a huge fan overall of the production style of Pixar, not just the quality that they spit out, but from what I understand, I've watched the Pixar documentary. They're very big on getting as much input from their entire team as possible.
Right.
From a person
it's a collective
from
ensemble.
A colorer all the way up to the producer.
Yeah.
Anybody has the ability to kind of weigh in on a different spot. And they're the kind of group as well that, for the most part, won't release a film until it's been given the proper amount of time to really flesh itself out.
I do like that about them.
Yeah, and I think the weakest that you usually see them, even The Good Dinosaur and maybe Brave for some people, they were just okay kind of films. Mm-hmm. You might say that they were just man, but they weren't bad. Right. They were just kind of, they don't really appeal to me sort of a thing, Yeah. And I think that's because they spend the time getting everybody's input, and not everything is good like that. You definitely need some things where it's just but I think with a creative medium like this, where you have access to all this different ideas and moving in different, it can make it really good.
Yeah.
because it can make it a generalized sense of humor and emotional context.
Totally.
So I thought that was really awesome with this one too. You can definitely tell that there's been input, and they just have these neat little touches. You'll be watching a scene and it's going in one direction, and then they just have like a funny thing that kind of takes you in another direction, and you're just like, oh, that's cute, that's funny, and you can tell that like somebody really thought it through and is like, well, we should just do something kind of cute here, kind of funny here, or different, and it makes it nice.
Is this a musical? Does it have like songs in it? So like a Moana kind of a thing, or
no, and
not?
Yes and no.
Okay,
it's not a musical like in the vein of Moana or like Frozen. There are musical moments, because Miguel's playing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense,
right? And Ernesto de la Cruz is playing, and I don't want to spoil some elements, but you find out one of the other characters is a really good musician as well, and they start playing in some different parts of it. And the music, for the most part, is really good. I mean, it's all it's all Hispanic style. It's a Spanish influence, kind of Mexico type sounding music, but it's all really fun. It's all catchy. It's not gonna. You're probably not most likely gonna be walking around kind of like singing it.
Not like a Moana.
Yeah,
right,
not like it's gonna. But it's not designed to be that.
Yeah.
It's actually
it's
designed to be like really good music.
That's okay. Pixar never really did that anyway. That was never really a Pixar thing. So Michael Giacchino did the score for this, and it was pretty. Cool. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Is it pretty good?
It was good. I really liked it.
That's awesome.
I mean, the music was definitely, everything fit. It was really fun and enjoyable.
Cool.
They did a really good job, and I will say this as well. I'm not obviously Hispanic. I don't know. I've been to Argentina a few times. Been to Mexico a few times. I don't know a lot about the Mexican culture, Hispanic culture.
Yeah.
But I feel like, just based upon the reactions, there was a pretty Hispanic crowd where I was at least. It felt like they were getting good reactions from the Hispanic culture and humor.
Yeah.
It felt like they were very honest and real about that. Like there was a couple moments where they would say something in Spanish and I wasn't exactly sure what it meant, but I got like the implication of it. But everybody around me is like, laughing. And so I'm like, okay, well that probably that probably is fitting. And they're laughing at how
you're laughing because people next to you are laughing. You're like, right. Oh yeah.
And you kind of like, again, I'm not part of that culture, but it felt like the family dynamic was very honest and real.
Nice.
And they did there was some funny stuff of like, I'll some minor-ish kind of spoil stuff, but this doesn't really spoil the story. But like the sort of lead mother of the family, like the lady that's kind of like abuelita, who's kind of like in charge of the family at this point. So Mama Coco ends up becoming a more important character like later on.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it. Obviously, the movie's called Coco.
That's okay.
But it really has to do with family and really has to do with remembering your family. Because Dia de los Muertos is this idea. I want to get back to what I was talking about before, but Dia de los Muertos is this day of sort of remembering the past, not the past history, but the people that have passed that are important to our families and this heritage. And there's cultural aspects of like, putting out their photos and putting out like things for them that they can like, I guess, take with them on their path or in this other side. And they play off of that. They play off of that story and that idea of like what it means to put a person's photo out and why that's so important. And I think even if you're not somebody that's in that culture, in that heritage, it just comes across as very interesting and important that you would care about your lineage, you would care about the importance of family and why that's such a good thing to promote in culture, and the memory of our progenitors and ancestors and everything like that. And it just became very touching because I think family. I'm getting way too political or so philosophical here, but like family is something that no matter who you are, you can always connect with and engage with, because we all like either we want more family or we have too much family, but we all have an influence of that in our lives. And they didn't make any like that was another nice thing that I'm watching the Pixar movie and I'm like, if this was any other studio house, if this was any other group, they would probably be trying to put in some sort of like message, of like trying to promote some sort of like idea of what this means and how that works. It's like, no, they're just literally just talking about family and why family is important. Right. And they're not trying to promote any ideas.
Like Dom Toretto in the Fast and Furious movies.
Exactly. Yeah. Family's important. Family. But family. No, so like the idea I was saying earlier is that like the abuelita, there's a couple scenes where she uses her shoe. She like takes her shoe off and she like uses it to like hit people
There's
with.
a trailer that has that.
Right.
It's like an extended scene.
And it's kind of like an ongoing joke.
Yeah.
There's a couple scenes of it. But then the, I forget her name, Mama Imelda, I believe, when she gets involved, there's a scene where like she takes off her shoe too and she starts. So it's like the idea that like they thought, okay, well, in Abuelita would do that because Imelda did that, and it just kind of like passes down the lineage.
Makes
so
sense.
it's just it's the complex narrative of the Pixar world, and they always feel like I've been talking a lot, so I did want to ask your perspectives and stuff too. But it's this idea with Pixar films that you're not just engaging this story and these characters and this humor and visual style, but they create a world, and it's like there's more to this story. They're just taking one little side of that, one little shade of it, and showing you that, and you're getting that. And that's what makes the film so enjoyable. With a lot of other cartoons and animated movies, you feel like it's literally just about like this small little niche thing that's happening because they don't want to distract you. But with like Pixar, like in a lot of the shots, like when Miguel's first going into the other world, there's events that are like they do these wide shots, and you can like look around. I didn't get a lot of time to because only watched it once, but you can like look around and see that there's like these micro interactions that are happening. Like the first shot, there's like this check-in spot that they all go to like find their family and stuff. And like if you look at that shot, you can see there's like a guy that's like over there like juggling things. Yeah. And then another guy like he runs into somebody and like falls down, his bones scatter. And it's like not even highlighted. It's just like a small little
thing
in the
background,
right, that you wouldn't even notice unless
that's awesome.
you were.
I like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, it's like the details, and it makes this idea that it's this fully fleshed out world. He goes to a party at one point and. Spoilers, but like he goes to that, and in that world there's all different kinds of people. There's all different functions, and they all have different personalities and archetypes, and it's just so cool that it's so nuanced that way.
That's awesome. So it's getting 96% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, which is great.
It's rocking our socks.
And I'm definitely going to see it. It's just a matter of figuring it all out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see it, especially if it kind of got you emotionally. I think that's cool.
It does. It sneaks up on you, but you're like when it happens, you're like, ooh, oh. Yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love how movies can do that.
True. Me too.
But yeah, no, you hit most of the points that I wanted to know about, and that's the biggest thing. I guess I'm glad that you were surprised going into it. Obviously, your expectations weren't super high. Rate this.
I'm gonna give this a 94.
Wow.
So that's pretty high for me.
That's really high.
Yeah.
That's what
I think. The only negative that I could say, sorry to interrupt. The only negative, and I really did think about it a lot, is that I will say two things. One, the sort of bad guys, like the bad people.
Okay.
Like they had a motive. I'm not gonna say they, he, she, like how many, because I don't want to spoil that. But like there was a motive there that became clear eventually, but it was just a little bit one-dimensional. Okay. It just felt a little bit, but it's a kid's film, so you kind of expect that, and I gave a little leeway there. It just was kind of like, okay, that's it? Like, there's nothing, like, show his childhood or her childhood, like, show what led them to be this determined or to make that, because they did some pretty horrendous stuff in this story. So that was one, like, minor aspect and minor gripe, and then the other one was there's a couple twists in the story. It, like I mentioned, it kind of goes like some family history stuff and some stuff that kind of needs to become clear, and it was really obvious. Like it wasn't like you kind of knew what they were going to do like before they did it, and they still did it in a really good way. Like the reveals were really cool.
I gotcha.
But it was kind of like, okay, that's that, and that
I figured it out.
Yeah, like okay, that's gonna go there, and then that part of the story is gonna go there. Again, that's still within an amazing environment, animation, and great voice acting and story structure.
Man, 94 is up there.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go in the archives and see kind of what you've been rating up this year.
There's only like two.
I think that Baby Driver was
Baby Driver,
like
also Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Logan,
and what was the other one? Ingrid Goes West.
That's right.
We're pretty much that high for me. So
that's awesome.
If I'm remembering correctly, but email us, let us know if I didn't miss one.
Totally let us know.
Yeah, but I would love to hear other people's perspectives. Again, I didn't expect much, so it was just a very nice thing. It's very positive. So
that's really awesome.
I would take your kids. I think they would love it.
Oh, you think they'd like it?
I do, as long as they don't get. We'll talk about it after.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll touch base on that
because there could be things depending on.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I was sitting. I felt really bad. This is outside of the point, but like I was sitting next to this, I guess, a family of like 6 people, and they had this one young kid that just would not stop, like, and he wasn't even crying. He was just saying random crud. And you feel bad because there's not really much you can do about that. But the problem I had is they kept getting up. Like the 2 people, like literally they would it was like a quarter of the way of the movie. They get up and they leave. And then 10, 15 minutes later, they come back with like popcorn. And then they sit down. And then they get up again and they just walked up like 2 rows and they sat down. And then they got up again, they came back and they sat down. I was just like, really?
What?
Like, trying to watch this. Like,
so
I
weird.
understand, you got to do things, move around maybe, but like, why are you, some of this doesn't even make sense why you're doing
Yeah.
this. So, yeah.
People at movie theaters, man. I went to the Justice League showing that they had a week and a half ago or whatever it was that I saw it. And they had an infant. No, not an infant. It's probably like a 1 or 2 year old because they were kind of toddling around.
Yeah.
But they, whenever I go to see the movies, it's really late. It was like a 10-15 showing, and they brought this like kid.
Wow.
I was like,
That's
what?
crazy. Maybe they thought he'd be sleeping.
And the kid was like babbling and like, rah, 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 rah. I was like, what is happening? Anyway,
that's crazy.
Don't take your kids to movies that late, guys.
Are there any movie theaters that offer daycare or like childcare, child supervision, or anything like that?
I know Harkins does,
Harkins
but
does,
they,
okay.
but they have to be a certain age. I think it has to be potty trained. I think that's a big stipulation.
Gotcha. Okay.
But other than that, anyways, anything else you want to add to Coco?
No, go see it. I think it's a great movie.
Check it out. And again, reach out to us, realreviewmedia@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of Coco. And then you can also reach us on facebook.com/Real Review Media, and then Instagram and Twitter @Real Review Media, and also youtube.com/The Real Review. We got some trailers going to be popping up here soon. I'm going to be doing some trailer reactions on. We should be hearing from Avengers and Jurassic World 2 and all that fun stuff. So that stuff's coming up real soon. And anything else you want to add to that?
I think that's it, Mr. Captain Crunch.
Cool.
Unless you got something.
All right, Coco Gijo. Well, it's been real.
It's been real.